Before we crack open tonight's cursed can of content, I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, with an extra sinister shout out to the loyal members of the Sinister Elite. You legends are the ones who help keep the darkness alive. If you're enjoying the stories and want to take it a step further, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed, and consider joining the Sinister Elite by clicking that join button below. Members gain access to creepy custom emojis and exclusive Sinister Elite badges that level up the longer you survive with us. It's like loyalty, but spookier. All right, lights off, headphones in, and let's summon something we'll all regret. Music. You ever complain about your job and instantly regret it because you remember, oh, right. I signed up for this. Yeah, that's me. For a living, I deliver food trays. Not to old folks, not to hospitals. I deliver meals to monsters. And no, I don't mean bad people. I mean actual creatures, things that crawl out of nightmares and somehow ended up in cages beneath the Kansas prairie. The place is called Blackgate Penitentiary. If you look it up online, all you'll find is a half-abandoned government facility supposedly shut down in the 80s, which is half true. The above-ground part looks dead. Cracked concrete. Weeds swallowing the fences. The guard shack boarded up. But go through the right door with the right clearance, and you'll find 12 levels spiraling underground like a bad video game dungeon. That's where I work. Now, before you ask why, minimum wage plus hazard pay. I was broke. Blackgate was hiring. No resume required. They said all I had to do was drop off food trays and follow the rules. Sounded easy enough. Like DoorDash with more iron bars. The first time I showed up, the guards shoved a laminated sheet into my hands. Memorize these, they told me. Break one, and we won't come save you. The sheet looked like some creepy camp counselor's prank. Rules for meal delivery. Knock twice before sliding a tray into cell number 6. Do not forget. Do not make eye contact with cell number 3. If a tray returns with bones inside, collect them without question. If you hear something whisper your name, keep walking. Never, under any circumstances, stop at cell number 12. I laughed, thought it was a joke. One of the guards, a big guy named Reavers with a scar across his scalp, leaned down and said, "Kid, if you laugh again, I'll throw you in cell number 12 myself." So yeah, I stopped laughing. That night they loaded me up with trays. Some had burgers, some had blood bags. One tray was literally full of dirt. Why dirt? I asked. The guard shrugged. Don't ask questions. The elevator ride down took 5 minutes. It was so deep my ears popped. When the doors opened, the hallway stretched in both directions. Grey concrete, bars, flickering lights. Everything smelled like wet copper and mold. The cells. Jesus. Cell number 1. A man with too many teeth. He smiled the whole time, never blinked. The sign taped to the bars said, "Keep lights dim." His tray had raw steak. Cell number 2, empty, just claw marks on the walls. When I slid the tray in, something invisible snatched it. I heard bones cracking. Cell number 3. A pale woman sitting in the corner. Her hair covered her face. I remembered the rule, no eye contact. I kept my eyes on the ground, slid the tray, and felt her staring holes through me. By cell number 6, I almost forgot the knock. Almost. At the last second, I banged twice. The thing inside giggled. "Good boy," it whispered. I damn near pissed myself. I kept going. Every cell was worse than the last. Shadows moving where no one stood. Hands reaching between bars. One cell smelled like a swamp. And when I slid the tray in, a wet tongue licked my wrist. And then I reached the end. Cell number 12. The rule was clear. Never stop. So I didn't. But you know how curiosity works. You can't help but peek. Cell number 12 didn't look like a cell. It looked like a door. Heavy steel, chains across it, a lock the size of my head, and taped to the door in faded red letters, "Do not open. Do not feed." I sped up and nearly dropped the cart trying to get back to the elevator. When I finally made it upstairs, the guards patted me down like I might have smuggled something out. Reavers stared at me. "You make it through all 12? I didn't stop at 12, I said. Good, he grunted. Don't ever. You see what's behind there, you won't come back up. I thought he was just trying to scare me. But that night when I got home, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A voice whispered, "You forgot to collect the bones from cell 3. And that's when I realized the rules weren't suggestions. They were the only thing keeping me alive. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the phone call, though, yeah, that didn't help, but because I couldn't shake the thought of cell number 12. Why the hell have a locked door if nobody's supposed to open it? Why keep something so dangerous that even the guards refused to say its name? I decided it wasn't my problem. My job was simple. Trays in, trays out. Rules followed. That was it. Don't get curious. Don't get stupid. Just stack my paychecks until I can leave town and never think about this place again. Easy, right? The next night, I came back. Reavers was waiting with his clipboard. He looked me up and down like he was measuring if I'd already broken. Round 2, he said. Remember the rules. The trays were different this time. 2 were stacked with cheeseburgers dripping grease. Another had something that looked like half a goat skull, raw and bloody. 1 had a bucket of live crickets. They chirped like crazy. Crickets? I asked. Reavers shrugged. Don't ask questions. Just deliver. The elevator took me down again. 5 long minutes in the dark. When the doors opened, it smelled worse than before, like something rotting deep in the walls. My cart rattled as I pushed it forward. Cell number 1's guy smiled even wider than last night. His teeth looked sharper. He licked his lips when he saw the tray. You're late, he said. His voice was too smooth, too human. I checked my watch. I wasn't late. Cell number 2 was still empty, but the tray came back this time with extra bones inside. Not the same bones, bigger ones. Too big for anything human. I froze, staring at them. Something had added to the pile. The whisper rule kicked in. I heard my name, soft as a sigh. Dylan. I clenched my fists and kept moving. By the time I got to cell number 3, I was sweating. The pale woman hadn't moved from the corner. Her hair hung over her face. I slid the tray in carefully, eyes locked to the floor. Then I saw it. The tray from last night, shoved halfway out, and sitting on top of it like a gift was a single finger bone. Human. Chewed clean. I gagged, almost left it. But the rules were clear: if bones came back, collect them. My hand shook as I scooped it up and dumped it into the bin on my cart. Her voice hissed out from the corner. Good boy. I bolted. Cell number 6 was next. I remembered the knock. 2 sharp raps on the bars. The tray slid in, and the thing inside giggled again, this time louder. Hungry, hungry, it sang. Something wet splashed against the bars. I didn't look. Further down, I noticed something new. Claw marks along the wall outside cell number 8. Fresh. The concrete was shredded like it was soft clay. The tray from that cell came back empty. But this time, instead of setting it aside, I peeked in. Big mistake. Something was standing in the corner. Tall, black, twisted like a tree. Its head scraped the ceiling. Its mouth hung open wide enough to fit me whole. The lights flickered. It was closer. I shoved the tray back in, slammed the slot, and ran. My cart clattered as I tore down the hall. I didn't stop until I saw the chained steel door of cell number 12 looming at the end. My stomach dropped. My hands gripped the cart so tight my knuckles cracked. And that's when I noticed it. The chains were looser. 1 was hanging broken. Ends twisted like they'd been snapped apart by something strong. The laminated rules echoed in my head. Never under any circumstances stop at cell number 12. So I didn't. I kept going, pretended I hadn't seen it, pretended my chest wasn't pounding like a drum. When I got back upstairs, I dumped the bone bin onto the counter and shoved the trays into the sterilizer. Reavers eyed me again. Everything come back clean? No, I said. Bones. And the chains on 12, he cut me off by slamming his clipboard onto the counter. His voice was flat, dangerous. You didn't stop, Did you? No good. He leaned close. His breath smelled like cigarettes and iron. Listen to me. Don't ask questions about what's behind 12. Don't think about it. Don't even say it. That's how it gets in your head. I swallowed hard. Then why keep it here? He didn't answer. Just clapped me on the shoulder and said, "See you tomorrow, rookie." That night, I locked my door, shut my blinds, and tried not to think about cell number 12. But when I opened the fridge for a beer, sitting on the shelf where my leftovers should have been was a tray, a real prison tray, with raw meat piled on it. And taped to the plastic lid in smeared red letters was a new rule I'd never seen before. Asterisk rule number 6. If you ever find a tray outside of Blackgate, do not eat. Do not touch. Return immediately. Asterisk. The problem? The guards had never given me a rule number 6. I stared at that tray in my fridge for a good 10 minutes, just standing there with the door wide open like an idiot. The smell coming off it wasn't food smell. It was wet copper and rot. The same stink from the lower levels of Blackgate. My stomach turned, but not from hunger. And that note. Rule number 6. If you ever find a tray outside of Blackgate, do not eat. Do not touch. Return immediately. Nobody ever gave me a rule number 6. I slammed the fridge shut and locked myself in my bedroom. The tray could stay there and rot. I wasn't about to touch it. But lying in bed that night, I swore I heard it. The squeak of the lid sliding open, the wet sound of meat shifting, then chewing. I told myself I was dreaming. The next day at work, I didn't mention it. No way. I didn't trust Reavers or the other guards. Hell, I wasn't even sure I trusted myself. Maybe I'd had a breakdown. Maybe my brain made it up. But when the trays were loaded onto my cart again, one stood out. Pale grey plastic like the rest, except for the faint red smudge across the lid. A smear that looked like it had been written over and wiped off. I swallowed hard and started my rounds. Cell number 1 grinned as usual. His teeth looked sharper. "Fridge was cold, wasn't it?" he said. I froze. He wasn't supposed to talk. Not like that. I shoved the tray through and backed away fast. Cell number 2's tray came back empty, except for a handful of feathers, still bloody. I didn't ask. Cell number 3. I hesitated. The pale woman hadn't moved an inch since my first night. Always in the corner, always staring. Except this time, her hair was brushed back just enough for me to see her eye. I looked away immediately, heart hammering. The tray I slid in clattered against the one she'd already shoved out. On top of it sat 3 bones. Small. Tiny, actually. Like bird bones. Asterisk hungry yet. Asterisk, she whispered. I dumped the bones into the bin and forced myself to keep going. By cell number 6, I remembered the knock. 2 sharp raps. The voice inside sang louder now, almost joyful. Asterisk knock knock. Delivery boy. Asterisk something slapped against the slot before yanking the tray inside. The bars trembled. My cart rattled as I kept pushing. Every step echoed. The smell of rot was stronger than usual. And then I noticed it. The lights weren't flickering anymore. They were dimming one by one. The hallway grew darker as I passed cell number 8. The black tree-shaped thing was pressed against the bars. This time, its jaw slack, drool dripping to the floor. Its eyes glowed faint yellow like dying flashlights. And then, snap. Every light went out. For a few seconds, it was pitch black. My breath came hard and fast. I remembered the rules. Don't stop. Keep moving. The emergency lights hummed back on. Faint red glow bleeding down the corridor. Just enough to see. And in that red light, every cell door was shaking. Things pressed against the bars, snarling, laughing, scratching. All except one. Cell number 12. It was silent, but when I passed it, I swear the chains moved. They slid just slightly, like something inside was tugging gently. Testing. By the time I reached the elevator, my cart was half empty, and my nerves were shredded. I shoved the bone bin into the chute upstairs, avoiding Reevers's stare, but he noticed anyway. You look like you saw a ghost. Lights went out, I muttered. He paled. The other guards shifted uncomfortably. Reavers leaned in close and hissed, "If that happens again, don't stop for anything. Understand? If you stop, it notices." "What notices?" I asked. He didn't answer. That night when I dragged myself home, the fridge was humming louder than usual. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The tray was still there, except now it wasn't meat on it. It was my dinner from last night, my leftover pizza. But the cheese was rotted, the crust moldy, crawling with black beetles. And taped to the lid was another note. Asterisk rule number 7. If the meals change, you're already feeding it. Asterisk. By the time I read rule number 7, I was shaking so bad I dropped the tray on the kitchen floor. The lid popped open, and the smell that came out nearly knocked me over. Rot, mold, crawling beetles scattering in every direction. I wanted to scream, burn it, throw it outside, and never look back. But the rules were clear. They weren't suggestions. I shoved the lid back on, duct-taped it shut, and double-bagged the tray in trash liners. Then I stuck it in my trunk. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even close my eyes. All I could hear was the faint clink of beetles crawling inside those bags, chewing through plastic. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I was bringing it back. When I rolled into Blackgate, Reavers was already waiting, arms crossed, cigarette hanging from his lips. He eyed the black bags in my trunk like he'd expected them. "You opened it," he said flatly. "Not a question." "It was in my fridge," I shot back. "Why the hell was it in my fridge?" He didn't answer, just gestured toward the elevator. "Get moving." This time, I didn't even get a cart. Just me, the bagged tray, and the long ride down. The deeper we went, the louder the elevator groaned. I swear the lights flickered slower, like the power was draining. When the doors slid open, it was quieter than usual. Too quiet. None of the usual laughter, no claws on bars, just silence. I started my walk. Cell number 1 smiled at me, teeth red. "It's eating well," he whispered. "Thank you." Cell number 2 was empty, but the air shimmered like heat rising off asphalt. Something brushed my arm, invisible fingers dragging across my sleeve. By the time I reached cell number 3, the pale woman was standing. First time I'd seen her move. Her hair fell back, and I saw her face just for a second. Pale skin stretched too thin, eyes like pits, teeth filed sharp. I looked down fast, shoving the bags into her slot. She giggled. "Fridge food," she crooned. "Fresh." The bones she slid back weren't human this time. They were smaller. Feline. My stomach twisted. I didn't even own a cat. I kept walking, faster now. At cell number 6, I nearly forgot the knock. My hand slammed the bars twice just in time. The thing inside howled with laughter, like a child on Christmas morning. The emergency lights were already red when I got to the end of the hall. Cell number 12 loomed ahead. The chains looked looser again. One more link broken. I didn't stop, didn't breathe, just kept walking until I hit the elevator and slammed the button. When I got back up, Reavers was waiting. He grabbed the tray out of my hands, sniffed it, and hissed through his teeth. "It's spreading." "What the hell does that mean?" I demanded. He glared at me. "It means you've been chosen. It means the rules aren't just inside anymore. Once it tags you, it follows. Home, work, everywhere." I laughed, a broken, panicked sound. "You're telling me I'm stuck with this forever?" Reavers didn't laugh. "You can quit. Walk away. Sure. But the rules won't quit you. And when you break them," he trailed off, tapping his cigarette ash onto the concrete. "Well, you've seen what's left of the last guy." I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't want to know. That night, I came home to find every single cabinet in my kitchen open. Plates shattered across the floor. And sitting dead center on the counter was another tray. This one wasn't taped. No note, just a hunk of raw meat, twitching like it was still alive. I didn't touch it, didn't breathe near it. I left the apartment and sat in my car until the sun came up. When I came back inside, the tray was gone, but taped to my fridge in the same smeared red letters was a new rule. Asterisk rule number 8, if the tray disappears, do not look for it. Wait. It will return. Asterisk. The problem is, I don't want it to return. I didn't go to work the next day. Screw Blackgate. Screw Reavers. Screw all of it. I figured if I just stayed home, locked my doors, and ignored the rules taped to my fridge, maybe it would stop. It didn't. By noon, the humming started. Low at first, like an old freezer kicking on, then louder, vibrating the walls, shaking the light bulbs. I opened the fridge empty, not even my milk or eggs. When I shut it, a tray was sitting on the counter behind me. This one wasn't like the others. It wasn't plastic. It was iron, heavy, black, rusted around the edges. The meat on it wasn't twitching this time. It was breathing. Slow, steady, like a sleeping animal. And taped to the side was another note. Asterisk rule number 9. Do not let it wake. Return before sundown. Asterisk. I almost threw up. I wrapped the tray in towels, duct taped the whole mess, and shoved it into the trunk of my car. The metal hummed under the fabric like a living thing. Then I drove. I didn't even think. Just floored it until Blackgate's cracked parking lot came into view. Reavers was waiting outside, always waiting. You weren't supposed to skip, he said. His voice was sharp, panicked. You broke the cycle. I popped my trunk. The humming practically rattled the car apart. Then take it back, I yelled. He didn't touch it, just stared. You don't get it. Once the rules follow you home, they don't belong to us anymore. They belong to you. And if you don't play along, he trailed off, gesturing toward the ground with his cigarette. I looked down. At first, I thought it was just shadows. Then I realized the cracks in the asphalt weren't cracks. They were claw marks. Fresh. Long, deep gouges leading straight to my tires. The ground split with a sharp crack. My car sagged on one side. Something had hooked its claws into the earth beneath it. I jumped back, heart hammering. The iron tray rattled in the trunk, louder, harder, like it was trying to get out. Reavers grabbed me by the arm. Downstairs. Now. We dragged the tray into the elevator. It hummed like a living heart the whole way down. By the time the doors opened, I knew where we were going. I didn't want to go there, but I knew. Cell number 12. The hall was different this time. The red lights glowed brighter, almost pulsing. The prisoners were silent, all of them. No whispers, no scratching, just silence. Watching. When we reached the end, my stomach dropped. The chains on cell number 12 weren't just loose anymore. They were gone. Torn metal lay scattered across the floor like broken twigs. The door itself was cracked open just an inch. Enough to breathe. The humming from the tray synced with the sound leaking through that gap. Deep, wet breathing. Reavers shoved the tray into my hands. His eyes were wide, his face pale. This is yours now. Deliver it. Follow the rules. My arms shook. You want me to open that door? He shook his head fast. No. Never open. Just slide it inside. That's the rule. Don't ever look at what's in there. I staggered forward. The iron tray burned cold through the towels. My hands locked around it like it wanted to fuse to my skin. The door shuddered. A hand, if you could call it that, slid out through the gap. Long fingers, too many joints, nails like black glass. It tapped the floor impatiently. I almost dropped the tray. Go on, Reavers hissed. Feed it. I crouched down and slid the tray toward the gap. The hand seized it instantly and dragged it into the dark with a screech of metal on concrete. The breathing stopped. The humming stopped. And then, in the silence, a voice pressed against my skull. Not in my ears. In my head. Asterisk good boy. Asterisk. I stumbled back, gasping. Reavers grabbed me by the collar and yanked me away. We sprinted to the elevator. I didn't breathe until the doors closed. When we reached the surface, Reavers lit another cigarette with shaking hands. You're in now, he said. Once you feed it, it knows you. Knows your name. The rules will follow you everywhere. Don't break them. Don't ever break them. I wanted to scream at him, ask what the hell was in cell number 12. But I already knew the answer. It wasn't a prisoner. It wasn't even a monster. It was something worse. And I had just put myself on its meal plan. The next night, there were 2 of us on delivery duty. Me and a new guy they called Alvarez. He looked too fresh, too clean-shaven, like someone who thought this was just a weird government job with extra hazard pay. That's what I thought on my first night, too. Reavers handed us each a laminated sheet. Stick to the rules. Don't improvise. Don't get curious. He said it with his usual dead stare, but his hand trembled when he lit his cigarette. That scared me more than anything. The carts were stacked high with trays. Burgers, buckets of worms, blood bags, piles of raw meat. One tray had nothing on it except a folded napkin. I didn't ask. Alvarez laughed when he saw the sheets. You guys serious with this knock-knock stuff? What is this, a haunted summer camp? Reavers didn't smile. He just leaned close and said, break a rule, and you won't make it back up. We rode the elevator down. The air was heavy, damp, stinking of rot. When the doors opened, the silence pressed in again. The prisoners were waiting. Alvarez whistled as he pushed his cart. I wanted to strangle him. Chill, he said. They're just locked up freaks. Can't touch us. The first few cells went smoothly. Cell number 1's smiley man licked his tray clean. Something invisible devoured the meat in cell number 2. The pale woman in cell number 3 whispered to me again. Asterisk good boy. Asterisk I avoided her eyes. Alvarez rolled his eyes. When we reached cell number 6, I froze. Remember the knock? I warned him. He smirked, banged on the bars once, then shoved the tray in. The hallway went silent. For a second, nothing happened. Then the tray shot back out, dented, covered in black slime. A small hand darted out of the darkness, too fast, too sharp, and seized Alvarez's wrist. He screamed. I lunged forward, grabbing his other arm, trying to pull him back. The thing inside laughed, high-pitched, childish. It yanked harder. Alvarez's skin peeled under its grip. His wrist bones snapped like twigs. 2 knocks. I shouted. My fists hammered the bars. 2 knocks. Damn it. The laughter stopped. The hand let go. Alvarez crumpled to the ground, clutching his mangled wrist. The flesh was gray already, veins blackening like ink spreading through paper. I tried to help him up, but he shoved me away, panicked. What the hell was that? He shouted, voice cracking. I didn't answer. The rules had already done their work. He'd broken one. And I knew what that meant. By the time we reached cell number 9, Alvarez was pale, sweating. His eyes darted like he was hearing voices I couldn't. He mumbled under his breath. Asterisk don't stop. Don't stop. Asterisk at cell number 11, he dropped his tray. The clatter echoed like gunfire. From the end of the hall, cell number 12's door creaked, just slightly, an inch wider. Enough for something to breathe. The sound crawled into my skull. Deep, wet, endless. Alvarez froze. His pupils blew wide. He dropped to his knees, staring down the hall. It's calling me, he whispered. I grabbed him, tried to drag him toward the elevator. Don't listen. Don't stop. That's the rule. But he tore free, staggering toward cell number 12 like a puppet on strings. The prisoners in the other cells went quiet. All of them watching. The door opened wider. Just a crack. Just enough. I saw the hand again. Too long. Too many joints. Nails scraping sparks off the floor. It reached for Alvarez. He smiled. Actually smiled. And then it pulled him inside. The chains slammed shut. The door sealed like it had never been open. Silence. I stood there gasping, hands shaking, waiting for something to happen. For him to scream, for blood to pour out. Something. But nothing. The only sound was the whisper that crawled into my head, curling around my brain like a parasite. Asterisk 1 down. 11 to go. Asterisk. When I stumbled back to the surface, Reavers didn't even ask where Alvarez was. He just looked at me, smoke curling from his cigarette, and said, "Get used to it. The rules always collect their due." That night when I got home, there was a new tray on my kitchen table. No meat, no bones, just Alvarez's wristwatch, ticking softly. And another note. Asterisk rule number 10. If someone else breaks a rule, do not intervene. One loss is better than two. Asterisk. I didn't sleep, because if that was true, I had already broken rule number 10. And it knew. I didn't want to go back. Not after Alvarez. Not after his watch showed up on my kitchen table, ticking like nothing had happened. But skipping wasn't an option anymore. The rules made sure of that. When I got into my car that night, the tray was already waiting in the passenger seat. Black iron again, heavy, humming faintly like a heart that wasn't mine. A note was taped across the lid. Asterisk rule number 11. When your turn comes, do not resist. Walk, carry, deliver. Asterisk. I thought about driving into a ditch, about torching the tray and vanishing into another state. But the rules weren't just rules anymore. They were laws. Gravity. Death and taxes. I couldn't disobey. Not really. Not without being pulled back in. So, I drove to Blackgate. Reavers didn't even look at me this time. Just nodded at the tray, his jaw tight, cigarette shaking in his lips. End of the line, rookie. The elevator took me down alone. The tray sat heavy in my arms. The hum grew louder with each level, sinking into my bones. By the time the doors opened, my teeth were rattling. The hallway was wrong. No cells lit. No whispers. Every prisoner silent. All of them pressed against their bars, eyes wide, mouths shut, watching me. Because they knew. I pushed forward. My legs moved like they weren't mine. The tray weighed more than it should have. Felt like it was full of concrete. My arms ached, but I couldn't drop it. Couldn't stop. The rules wouldn't let me. Cell number 1 grinned wider than ever, bloody spit dripping down his chin. Finally, he said. Cell number 3 whispered. Asterisk he'll love you. Asterisk my throat closed. By the time I reached the end, my knees were buckling. Cell number 12 loomed ahead. The door was wide open now. No chains, no locks, just a yawning black void breathing cold air into the hall. The tray slipped from my arms and clattered onto the concrete. The sound echoed like a gunshot. And something inside cell number 12 stepped forward. I didn't see all of it. My brain wouldn't let me. Just pieces. A shoulder too broad, skin stretched too tight. Fingers that bent the wrong way. A mouth that wasn't a mouth at all, but a crack splitting wider and wider, spilling out a sound that wasn't laughter, wasn't words, wasn't even noise. It was hunger. The rules screamed in my skull. Asterisk don't resist. Deliver. Asterisk. I bent down, grabbed the tray with shaking hands, and slid it forward. My fingers brushed the iron edge one last time before the thing took it. The humming stopped. The breathing stopped. And then a voice filled the hall, not in my head this time. Out loud. Low, rumbling. Asterisk good boy. Now it's your turn. Asterisk. The floor cracked beneath me. Concrete split open like paper. Black claws punched through, dragging at my ankles. I screamed, clawing at the walls, the floor, anything to stop from being pulled down. The prisoners laughed. All of them. Every cell filled with cackles and howls. They weren't trapped. They were witnesses. I fought. I broke the rule. I resisted. And the moment I did, everything stopped. The claws froze. The laughter died. The air went still. And then the door of cell number 12 slammed shut. Chains rattled back into place, fresh and gleaming. The tray was gone. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing, waiting for the claws to return. But they didn't. When I finally stumbled back upstairs, Reavers was waiting. He didn't ask, didn't scold me, just stared at me with tired eyes. You resisted, he said quietly. I had to, I gasped. He cut me off with a shake of his head. Then you're not feeding it anymore. It's feeding through you. I didn't understand. I didn't want to. But when I got home that night, my fridge was full. Every shelf stacked with trays. Not plastic, not iron. Just trays. And every one of them had a meal. Pizza, burgers, Chinese takeout. My favorite foods. All of them breathing. And taped to the fridge door, smeared in fresh red letters, was the last rule. Asterisk rule number 12. When you can't tell the difference between its hunger and your own, it's already too late. Asterisk. The worst part? I was starving.